Alright, welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. This is episode 6 of Mistborn, the Hero of Ages. We read chapters 37 through 43 this week. I am Midnight, the host, and I am here with Mythic.
Hello.
And Darkness.
Hi.
Alright, so we got some good stuff, I think, episode. So we're going to start off with chapter 37, of course, and its epigraph, which is Hemalurgic decay was less obvious in Inquisitors that had been created from Mistborn. Since they already had elementic powers, the addition of other abilities made them awesomely strong. In most cases, however, Inquisitors were created from Mistings. It appears that Seekers, like Marsh, were the favored recruits. For when a Mistborn wasn't available, an Inquisitor with enhanced bronze abilities was a powerful tool for searching out Ska Mistings. So what do you think about Hemalurgic Spike's increasing elementic abilities of that a person already has?
Well,
That's cool.
we kind of came up with that theory, so
Mhm.
it just confirms it.
Mm-hmm.
It also
My
gave
bad,
me,
sorry.
like, when I read it, it gave me the idea that, like, yeah, you can get a spike from, like, a normal-ass person.
Oh, I mean, that shit comes up later, though.
Yeah, that comes up later.
Oh my
But
god.
that was, like, my question the last
Yeah.
time
Yeah,
we
I
were
know.
here.
I know, and then it got answered, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I remember. I think during that episode, I was like, I'm pretty sure this gets brought up. And I was like scrolling through the epigraphs, and I was like, I think I actually might have
and-
said that last one. I'm like, oh, you're gonna get answers to something.
As soon as
Yeah.
we finished reading, like discussing all of that,
A lot of
I read that. I read the epigraph. That epigraph we just read right now,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh yeah, so like you can.
So we start this chapter with Vin's point of view as she wakes up to screams. She'd been sleeping on one of the barges, and the bargeman called out to her that they were being attacked. Vin says it's about time and pushes off into the mist.
It's about time.
As she makes her way over to the northern side of the camp, she sees some of their Allomancers fighting off soldiers on horseback. Finn notes that Ellen's idea that some of Yeoman's men would try to attack when the mists were out was correct, and thus, if they hadn't exposed their men to the mist, they would have been in serious trouble. Finn drops into the middle of some soldiers that had gotten farther into the camp and notes that the horses aren't wearing horseshoes and the spears the soldiers have are made of stone and not metal. A spear is thrust at her and she jumps over it before kicking the soldier in the face, throwing him off his saddle, and then he gets trampled by his companions. Vin pushes herself into a canvas tent and then pushes on the metal tent stakes so the tent goes into the air and the spikes fly out at the men on horses. Once these first few soldiers are down, Vin goes to begin pushing and pulling on other metal tent spikes to attack the rest of the soldiers. She downs dozens of them and then turns to see a group of 10 men coming at her with spears and arrows. She again uses a tent, pushing on it and tripping the front group of horses. Once she had dealt with these men, the rest begin to withdraw, and Vin notices someone burning metals, a Mistborn other than Elend. The Mistborn jumps away, and Vin follows him into the city. As she chases the Mistborn, she finds herself seeing that he is real and not a mist spirit. She uses a Duralumin fueled push, but loses sight of the Mistborn since she had to extinguish her tin. So what did you think of Vin's use of the tents to fight?
Pretty genius.
That was cool.
Mhm.
I imagine it more like you know those scenes when there's like super wind, like windy and shit, and then the tents go flying.
And the
And
tents are
shit.
flying everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that, but like whirling around like a tornado.
Mhm. So Vin then worries that the Mistborn was sent to distract her, and she hurries back to their camp to find Ellen perfectly fine. Her worries of an attack on him luckily untrue. However, Ellen tells her that it was a distraction after all, and that soldiers went after the Koloss while Vin and Ellen were distracted. We skip to Ellen's point of view as he, Vin, and Ham look over the Koloss army, which was halved, as well as burning siege equipment. Ham mentions that there are likely tunnels beneath the plateau near where they had kept the Koloss. Ellen thinks that he could hear the screams of the Koloss in his head. Because of the attack on them, the Koloss had slipped away from Ellen's control for a bit, and they had ended up attacking each other as well, which is where a lot of the casualties came from. Ellen states that they shouldn't have left the Koloss so far from their camp. They'll have to move them closer. He thinks that their armies are much more evenly matched now that they only have 10,000 Koloss. So what do you think of the yeoman strategy of attacking the Koloss while distracting Vin and Elend?
That was smart. Like straight up, that's it. Like it was smart.
It's very
Like even
smart.
I didn't expect that, Loki.
It was a very smart idea, for sure. Tactically sound.
Just a whole lot of Koloss.
Sure did.
So Ellen then goes over to Vin, and Vin mentions how Yeoman has a Mistborn. Ellen then says that he's going to give 1,000 of the Koloss to Vin, as it's better to split them between the two, even if Ellen is generally stronger at holding them. We switch back to Vin's point of view as she walks through the ash that is up to the tops of her calves. Human approaches her with a wound on his arm. Vin asks if the Koloss care about so many of them being dead, and Human replies that they take care of their dead. Vin asks about them taking the skin from the...
Dead.
Finn asks about them taking the skin from the dead Koloss, and Human just replies that they are dead, which is why they do that. Ellen separates a group of Koloss, and Finn takes them over with some Duralumin-fueled rioting. Human then notes that there are fewer of them, that there are too many swords. Finn says they should make some children Koloss then, and Human replies that she needs to
Make
provide
some
them.
babies.
And she's like, you need to provide them with more Koloss. Can speak. Finn doesn't understand and asks him to show her, but he says he can't and it's not right, which confuses Finn as it's the first real statement of values that she has gotten from a Koloss. Finn gives Human an allomantic nudge, and Human suddenly screams before running off into the Koloss camp, grabbing one of the dead Koloss before going off to Ellen's camp. Finn keeps pace with Human, watching him as he hurries into the camp and looks around before going towards where yeoman soldiers had attacked them. Once in the battlefield area, Human heads towards the triage tents. Finn tries to ask Human what he's doing, but he ignores her, dropping the dead Koloss and ripping off its skin. Human then pulls something out of the dead Koloss that Finn can't see at first, but then she sees a bloodied spike that had apparently been holding the skin in place. Human takes 4 spikes out of the Koloss before going into the triage tent and reaching for a wounded soldier. Finn commands Human to stop, and Human freezes. Finn realizes that Human was going to turn the wounded soldiers into Koloss, which is why there are no children Koloss. Human just replies that he is human. So what did you think of the Koloss being made of 2 living humans spiked together under blue Koloss skin?
I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Makes me wonder where the fucking first Koloss skin came from.
Probably
That's a good question. How did they make Koloss skin?
I don't even know, bro. I'm trying to find a way to put this into words and I cannot.
Well, you were kind of right about them using humans to make Koloss. It's just they're not
dead people.
They're not dead people. They're living people.
They're dead people. You spike somebody through the fucking body, they're dead.
Again, Inquisitors aren't dead. We don't know that.
Yes, they are, though.
Inquisitors are not dead.
Technically, Marsh said he was
Reborn.
That's where he was his birth.
So
Yeah,
he had to have died to be reborn. Dead people.
they die. They just don't remember. You know. Imagine.
You guys have any other thoughts about or learnings about the Koloss there?
Aside from the fact that he's like this thing's Groot. No.
Low key, I thought about it, and as soon as the skin was mentioned that it got removed, I was like, I know what's happening. But like, when he went over there, and I was like, a live man, an unconscious man, like, and like, I think it was just gonna be like 2, you know.
I definitely thought it was gonna be like the dead bodies and shit. But
Yeah.
like,
That would
we
be
just
way more
put skin
efficient,
on the
too.
dead bodies. Yeah, exactly. Like, what's a dead body gonna do? Rot in the fucking ground?
No, apparently they gotta be living to become Koloss. Can't take the
Yeah,
dead
whatever.
bodies. So we got chapter 38's epigraph now, which is hemalurgy can be used to steal allomantic or ferochemical powers and give them to another person. However, a hemalurgic spike can also be created by killing a normal person, one who is neither an allomancer nor a ferochemist. In that case, the spike instead steals the very power of preservation existing within the soul of the person, the power that, in fact, gives all people sentience. A hemalurgic spike can extract this power, then transfer it to another, granting them residual abilities similar to those of allomancy. After all, preservation's body, a tiny trace of which is carried by every human being, is the very same essence that fuels allomancy. And so, a conjurer granted the blessing of potency is actually acquiring a bit of innate strength similar to that of burning pewter. The blessing of presence grants mental capacity in a similar way, while the blessing of awareness is the ability to sense with greater acuity, and the rarely used blessing of stability grants emotional fortitude.
So 2 allomantic, 2 ferochemic.
So what did you think about the human sentience coming from having a bit of preservation's power within them?
Well, that gets explained, right?
Well, I mean, it says that all people have a bit of preservation in
Yeah,
them.
that gets explained because it's like a soul or whatever, right?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, what did you think about the fact that it's specifically preservation's power that gives humans sentience? Like, kind of gives them their soul, kind of thing.
I don't know, because at that point I was like, this motherfucker, like the fucking conjurer, would be lying all the time, you know. Like I don't trust these bitches
They
no more.
definitely be lying a lot, that's for sure.
Because he was literally like, y'all from Ruin, all this shit, right? But like,
But they're not.
yeah. But then they also might be, and we just don't know about it. But whatever.
No, I mean, I think it's like the same thing that Ruin did to everybody else. He, manipulating the history of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting more information about how everything works. I also had another question is, what do you think about them being able to make spikes from normal people? I know Darkness kind of thought this might be possible.
But I got so excited when I first saw that, and I was like, "Ooh, I got it! I got it!" you know.
And
But yeah,
then, go ahead.
My theory was correct. Woo!
you see, I got so focused on the fact that you can do it that I forgot what it does.
Oh, yeah.
So I think they're saying that basically the spikes from normal people are what make the Conjure blessings. So it's like the Inquisitor spikes are made from Allomancers and Feruchemists, but the Conjure spikes are just made from normal people.
And the Kolos ones?
It doesn't say
Yeah.
here. It just specifically talks about more about the Conjure blessings in this epigraph.
You know, all this made me think about the fucking mist a lot, and like that 16% shipper.
Yeah. Oh. Wonder where that's all coming from.
And I also
Sorry about that.
I also had a question about what do you think about the Conjure blessings? Because we now have got the name of the fourth and final, apparently, Conjure blessing, which is the blessing of stability.
Stability. Like I said, 2 Feruchemists, 2 alchemical.
Allomantic.
Whatever. Yeah, Allomantic. That's
You
it.
see, I don't think that's all of them.
I think it's all of them.
I don't think that's all of them in general.
I'm pretty sure we had confirmation from Tensoon earlier that there's only
only
4.
Okay, but we also had confirmation about other stuff that they didn't know.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's true. So the Conjure have only ever been given 4 different types of blessings. If the Lord Ruler,
Exactly.
if you're able to make more, the Lord Ruler never gave them any other ones.
But why would the Lord Ruler give them something that would make them even more powerful if he's trying to make a contract with them in order to keep them at bay?
Yeah, I mean, he may not have given them everything. He may have just been like, these 4 are good enough.
Just like the Kolos, where he had to provide the spice in order to make more Kolos.
Mm-hmm. Also, I didn't ask it yet, but I was kind of thinking, what do you think about the different amount of spikes that Inquisitors, Kolos, and Conjure have? So Conjure
That's
have
what I was
2.
trying to figure out.
Yeah, so Conjure have 2, Kolos have 4, and then I think the minimum that the Inquisitors had was it 6 or 8, something like that. Yeah, I think it might have been 8.
8. 2 in the eyes, 1 in the heart,
Back. No,
1 in
there's
the
1 in the
back.
back. And then the rest were in the front torso area. One's like in the heart, and there's like a bunch else in like the chest area.
How many do the Kolos have?
Kolos have 4.
2 per person, pretty much.
I said there's a 4th thing. My brain is like, there's gotta be like another fucking thing we don't know about.
Another creature.
Like another
Yeah, like a 4th one?
Another creature or another, like, type of allomancy, whatever.
Mm.
Power. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Another
Yeah,
allergic
that's
creature.
That's what I was thinking. It's either another form of using like metal as power, or another creature that we just don't know about. Yeah.
The 3 makes sense though with the whole like 1 per god and then 1 combined one.
That's the thing. I don't think it's
He believes there's more gods.
I don't think it's just them 3.
Because Kelsier's a god.
Remember that I also thought about like the mist being its own thing,
That's true.
like
That's
this
true.
and that. But also it's I don't know, it's the fact that like the numbers are weird. Because we got so I wanna believe that it goes 2, 4, like 8 and then 16.
So you think you could create a creature that has 16 spikes? Well, the Inquisitors are getting more spikes. Maybe they're becoming that because Rune is giving them extra spikes.
Maybe, but at that point, I don't even think it's an Inquisitor. So
you think it might just be
something different,
something else?
A new creature
they become when they get 16 spikes.
Maybe they ascend. You never know. But like,
they become the mist. They just like evaporate because they're so spiked. Their body just falls apart and they become mist.
Don't laugh at that because it could be true knowing for like all things.
Alright.
That's scary.
So we move on to we got Spook's point of view for this chapter as he watches the Ska sift through the charred remains of a burned building. As he watches, he thinks about how in the past he didn't see how Peter and Tin were opposites like the other metal pairs, but now he feels like he understands. Tin made his sense of touch so intense that even walking was uncomfortable, but Peter allowed him to endure more pain. Tin caused lights to be so bright they blinded him, but Peter allowed him to endure far more light before needing his blindfold. Spook also wonders if Kelsier would be able to bless him with some of the other metals, such as iron and steel. So do you think Spook is going to be given other elementic powers? I know we've kind of thought about this in the past.
I hope not. I hope he becomes a Mistborn, though. Like, I hope that in the end of this whole book, or series, or whatever, if he shows up, I don't think he's going to show up in another series, never mind. I think at the end of this, I want him to become a Mistborn.
There's a point where he's talking and I think he's talking to Kelsey or something like that. And in my head, I just know it, bro. This motherfucker dies.
Oh, who?
Spook?
Spook?
Yeah, he dies,
Oh,
and there's no
okay.
fucking way. Like, think about it. With everything we know that's happening related to him, whose footsteps is he following?
Okay, of course she's following Kelsey's footsteps, but
You think
Yeah,
he's gonna
like
like die fighting Kellyanne, just
martyr.
like
He's gonna be a martyr.
I don't think he's gonna die fighting Kid. I think he's gonna die trying to like take the final battle himself.
Hmm.
like die trying to fight like Ruin or something?
Yeah.
I see. So Spook notes that the man overseeing the search of the burned down building is Franson, the man who asked Spook to save his sister. The girl's execution was a day away, but Spook was working on ways to stop it. Spook also thinks about how he hadn't spied on the citizen in a few days, as Sazed and Breeze had thought it was too risky after the citizen had increased security. However, he does miss seeing Beldre, even if she is the citizen's sister. Franson comes over to Spook to tell him that they've searched the area 4 times for whatever needs to be found, and whatever needs to be found will have been found by now. Spook agrees and hands the man a bag of coins to pay the men who are working, insisting they take it even when Franson says they're friends who just want to see his sister safe. Spook then notes that 9 skulls have been found in the burned building. Franson asks about it, and Spook says he watched the building burn and they can learn something from this. He says that 10 people went into that building, but they only found 9 skulls, and that means there is a way to get Franson's sister out. So what did you think of the one missing skull? Had you thought that there would be like more of them missing? Like, what were your kind of thoughts on the whole missing skull
I
thing?
didn't understand what the fuck he meant when he said check the count the skulls. So what the fuck does that mean? So
Means they're not killing everyone.
No, somebody's alive. I wonder who.
Maybe they're forcing them to snap or something.
You think putting them in the burning building like forces them into snapping, and then they check to see who's snapped?
Well, they're killing the people who are descended from like nobles, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think this is like a fucking Salem witch trial thing?
It's like it's exactly what they were doing with all the like children in the noble
Yeah.
families.
Yeah, but like it's a Salem witch trial idea.
Yeah,
Like, oh
essentially.
hey, let's go burn them, and if they die, then they weren't witches, and if they don't die, then they are witches. Great way to fucking have a society, that's for sure.
Yo. So we move to Say's
But
point. Oh, go ahead.
the issue is that I don't think it's like, oh, we might as well kill them if they are.
Mhm.
I think it's a recruitment type of thing.
Yeah, well, we find out in the next Spook chapter. Or is it this Spook chapter? No, next Spook chapter. What kind of they're doing.
Yeah, we do. Sure.
So we move to Say's point of view as he and Breeze sit in a ska bar. Goradel and 3 of his men are at another table nearby. Says mentions how strange it is seeing the ska out at night. That Kellyanne had somehow broken down the ska's superstitions about the myths in just a year. Says then thinks about how Breeze has spent time getting goodwill at the bars and getting contacts in the underground. Although they were now known, Breeze's work allowed him to still be able to frequent the ska bars and talk to people. Says thinks that the belief in Kelsier is the main reason why the ska are no longer scared of the myths, even if they now kill. He finds it fascinating the differences between how the people here worship Kelsier versus in Luthadel, then thinks that he can't get distracted from his religions. He's getting worried about how few of them he has left. A wave of soothing from Breeze distracts him, and he goes over to the table of ska that Breeze has joined. One of the ska at the table says that he wants to hear things from Says since men like Breeze and Kellyanne lie, but Terracemen don't. The ska asks why they are here, and Says says it's for 2 reasons. One is for the resources that the city has, and the other is because Ellen believes he can govern the city better than Kellyanne. So what do you think about the ska wanting to hear about things from Sace specifically instead of from Breeze?
Because they know Breeze's powers. I mean, why would you want the person who can soothe you into basically what they want?
Yeah, they do also mention that Breeze is a soother. Breeze is surprised that they had noticed. He's like, oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, and then what's her fuck says, oh, I could just write them, and I'm like, oh, do it. Fucking kill them all. Yeah, that'd be great. That's a great way to create your image there, girl.
She's cool though, lucky.
Like Midnight already hates you. We'll see.
But she's cool. I like her. I don't know.
Of course you do.
She's overprotective, that's for sure.
That makes me like her even more.
Yeah.
So one of the ska men question following Adventure Man again, but Sage replies that Ellen is nothing like his father. He also replies that the
Nothing like my father.
He also replies that the Terracemen moved to the Central Dominance and have formed an alliance with Elend. The ska then bring up that Breeze and Says don't have an army to take the city, but Breeze says they didn't need an army to take down the Lord Ruler, and Kellyanne didn't need one to take down the city. Sage also jumps in to say they aren't planning a rebellion, though. One of the ska men then says they don't need outsiders, they only need the survivor of the flames. Sage is confused by this title, but Breeze seems to know what it is and is watching Sage for a reaction. A
It's the
different
same place with the skulls, right? It's the same area with the skulls and all that shit. So
I don't
that's the.
think
Is it?
they're in
They're not.
the
They're
ska
not.
area. No,
I thought they were in the. Wait, what? I thought Breeze and.
they're in a ska bar.
Yeah, but I thought they
Yeah,
were in
but
the
it's
same
the same
city
like
as.
area where like the
Yes.
burning happens.
The burning happens in like where all the noble houses are.
But
Okay, we're talking about like the same city and
Oh,
stuff.
same
Same
city.
city.
Yeah.
Spook and all of them
Sorry.
are there. So that's.
I
so
thought you
when
meant like the
he
same
said,
neighborhood.
yeah,
I thought you meant they were like next door to each other.
I got you. I got you.
Not really.
Sorry.
No.
I'm confused.
I don't think neighborhoods like distance
that way.
matter anyway. If like you can move fast, so
But no, it's the same spot where the skull's missing and all that because of in the fire, and that's what I was thinking to myself of. Oh well, the burning god over here. Wonder if it's something to do with that.
Where was I? Yeah, Breeze is watching saves for reaction. A different Scotsman says the survivor doesn't enter into this, and they should just be happy with what they have. Says asks why they call Kelsier the survivor of the flames, but the Saw say that this is a different survivor, and that Kelsier is the survivor of Hassan. The survivor of Hassan came to overthrow the Lord Ruler, and the survivor of the flames has come to overthrow Kellion. Says tries to ask again who the survivor of the flames is, and the men seem unsure if to tell him. They then say that there will be executions tomorrow, and they should just be there. So, I mean, Mythic kind of started to answer this already, but what were your thoughts about the survivor of the flames? Had you realized who it was at this point, or no?
I knew instantly.
Yeah,
Who else
totally
gets
understand
mentioned in fire in this like that way?
Yeah, no, yeah. Just the way that it progressed. Yeah.
So then, I'm very excited about this epigraph, Chapter 39's epigraph. Even now,
she loves this epigraph.
I do. Even now, I can barely grasp the scope of all this. The events surrounding the end of the world seem even larger than the final empire and the people within it. I sense shards of something from long ago, a fractured presence, something spanning the void. I have delved and searched, and have only been able to come up with a single name. I can never say this name well. Adonalsium. Who or what it was,
Ad nauseam.
I do not yet know. So what do you think about this? The shards of something from long ago, a fractured presence.
Shards of ruin and shards of presence, and they put them together and they make eggnog.
Eggnog.
Eggnog, yeah.
Adonalsium.
I don't know what the fuck.
Adonalsium. I don't know why I struggle with this so much. I can say it in my head, I just can't say it out loud.
What chapter was this again, so I can go listen to it again?
Chapter 39.
Alright, give me a second. Let me go back. 39.
Adonalsium. Adonalsium.
Second. One second. I'm listening. Adonalsium.
Ew.
Adonalsium is how the.
I'm not saying it like that.
Adonalsium. Oh no.
Adonalsium. Yeah, I don't know.
They don't pronounce the L.
I don't know. I don't know how it's spelled. I'm listening to it.
Here I can write it out for you. Adonalsium.
What the hell? Alright, I was like, let me play this again.
I'm not pronouncing it the way he pronounced it. Cause...
Yeah, 1 second here. I wonder if I could do this. It'll probably come across the thing, but it's not like you're gonna have a issue with a small bit of a fucking thing.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if it. Let me know if you can hear it.
Second.
When you get on it.
Okay, I'm on.
I'll push play.
Ew.
Who or what is
you heard it?
Adonalsium.
No.
He just says it really fast.
I'm gonna say it really fast, and I'm gonna hope that they don't catch that I said it wrong.
But yeah, so yeah, I just wanted your thoughts about Adonalsium and these shards.
I think the shards are like shards of 1 second, I gotta fucking beat this. Shards of ruin and preservation, and then you put them together and they make whatever the fuck that name is. That's my assumption. I still think that's gonna become Breeze though, to be honest. But
Breeze?
Or not.
I was like,
no.
Oh my god, Breeze.
Says it. Oh yeah, Breeze, totally. Yeah.
Says
no, says it. Sazed. That's the way I said it right. Sazed. Sazed. Whatever. That person. Yeah. That's who's gonna become.
I just really
what
want
I
you
want to
guys
call balanced.
In the future, just keep that in mind. This epigraph.
Yeah, those shards. Yeah, keep that in mind. It definitely has something to do with something in the end.
Just think about the title of the podcast. So we switch to Tensu's point of view. As he stares in horror at all of the ash. He wonders how the other Conjurer can't see what is going on with the world and just stay in the homeland. Although he thinks that he understands the tiredness of just wanting to wait in the homeland, which is why he had constantly gone out on contracts, to not become content, and apathetic. Tensoon bounds off into the forest and thinks that it seems like the first contract, the trust, and the resolution doesn't mean what it used to the Kandra. The first contract was a set of actions to take when the world began to fail, but he knows that the first contract scares some of the Kandra, and they would rather it be abstract. So what do you think about the first contract being specifically a set of actions to take when the world fails?
Sounds like the Lord Ruler was creating a fallback plan.
Lucky we knew that already, though, with all the vaults and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So Tensoon then stops wandering, and even with the ash, he is able to find where he had stopped before returning to the Kandra homeland last year. He thinks about how there are 4 blessings: presence, potency, stability, and awareness. Tensoon has the blessing of presence, and he digs up 2 iron spikes that together form the blessing of potency, which he absorbs into his shoulder. He doesn't like to think about how each of these spikes was created by killing someone, or that he had killed one of his brothers to get these 2 extra spikes. What are your thoughts on the fact that blessings are 2 spikes? Because I know that you guys thought maybe like that only 1 spike was a blessing and you weren't sure about what the second one did.
It is what it is, but I just thought, like, when you said he has 2 spikes, I was like, oh, it's one of each, but no.
No, apparently you need 2 spikes to form 1 blessing.
As far as everything else is concerned, I mean, it's, 2, 4, 8, 16. There you go. Just keeps doubling. I mean, I definitely had the theory going through halfway through this book where it was going to be like thought, well, if he created the Kandra and he created the Koloss, that maybe he was like testing things out and he put 2 spikes in, it created a Kandra, and he put 4 spikes in and it created a Koloss.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was still from the same one entity. So like, let's say a base human, right?
Mm-hmm.
He stuck 2 spikes in and it was like, ooh, I made Kandra, and then he sticks 4 spikes in, and he's like, "Oh, it made a Koloss."
Well, Kandra are made from people, though they're made from mist wraiths.
Yes, I got that. I said I thought. All right.
Yeah.
But where did mist wraith come from?
We don't know yet.
That's my point. So, like, have all still been human at one point. But they stick the spikes into these humans, and they creates different things, and then it's 2, 4, 8, 8 being the whatever the fuck they're called again.
Inquisitors?
Thank you. Yeah. I was going to say something completely different. I don't know why. Yeah, Inquisitors. And then whatever, like Darkness said, I would love to see a 16 one. That would be hilarious. It creates something completely different.
What did you think, Darkness? Do you have any thoughts about the 2 spikes?
Well, I was just wondering why it's 2. Well, and it doesn't seem like... I don't know, because it doesn't seem like these are ruined spikes.
No, they're preservation.
Well, it does say that they're hemalurgic.
Mm-hmm. So, which is
hemalurgy is of ruin.
Yeah, but like they're not like, oh, like ruin can control me type of spikes. I mean,
we don't know that.
I don't think so. I generally don't.
Yeah, that's one of my questions later, is whether you think Kandra can also be controlled by ruin.
Yep, I definitely think they can. I definitely think that the first and second generation are being controlled.
I don't think they can be controlled if it's just 2 spikes.
You think you need more spikes to be controlled?
I think you need more spikes to be controlled.
Yeah. And that kind of gets, I guess, a little disproven, but sure. A little.
Have we seen another Kandra with more spikes?
No, not Kandra. But somebody does get spiked later.
Yeah, but that's different. That's human physiology. Like,
okay.
So do you think Tensoon might be taken over then by ruin since he's got 4 spikes now?
Possibly. I think he's gonna become a Koloss.
Oh no.
That's how you make the Koloss skin.
Oh gosh, you turn a Kandra into a Koloss skin.
Oh, wait,
but I'm confused because
could a Kandra turn into a Koloss?
Not as far as we know.
That would be interesting.
What were you gonna say, Darkness?
I don't know how that spike thing works with the fucking Kandra at all, though, because like we know that stabbing the skin
works.
and like at least 2 humans make a Koloss, and then stabbing a human and
through
putting
vital
that spike
organs.
and putting that spike in another person, that makes like an Inquisitor or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you just like what? Give the fucking spikes to a mist wraith and stab
I think
them?
I think it's because they're kind of like physiology works different, so like they're kind of more like
he
kind of absorbs into them instead of.
But he also states that when he puts the spikes in, he makes sure that he puts a vital organ around it.
Oh, did he say that? I completely missed that.
Yes.
Yeah, he
100%.
did. But
the thing is, like, vital organs around it.
The thing is, like, is a mist wraith sentient enough to even know to do that? Like, And it's not even that, but like as I said, I think the physiology is like a great like matter in this. What makes it so different that you even like don't have to spike it like something else beforehand?
Well, we don't know if they haven't. They have spiked
Yeah.
something
That's
else
what I'm
before, and they
saying.
say that they're made
Like
from people.
what do you have to do is like what I'm wondering.
I mean, didn't he? So wait, he stated that. Didn't he state
It
that
did say
like
that they're
the
made from
spike?
people.
Yeah. So maybe it did get spiked from somebody else, and then they put it in them. You know.
It seems like, based on what we've learned from the
It's
epigraphs
just
and from
like
what I was just gonna say, based on what we've learned from the epigraphs and from what Tensoon has told us, it sounds like the Lord Ruler would spike normal people, and then give these spikes to the Khandra to use as blessings to awaken more Khandra.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to make them themselves, or maybe they do, but they're not, because they're
But
not allowed to kill people. They can't.
I don't know if it's
Maybe
normal
that's the whole
people or
reason.
not.
Maybe that's the whole reason they're not allowed to kill people.
Well, they said the reason they don't kill people is because people were hunting them down. That was their compromise in hopes of safety. Is we won't kill people and we'll work for you so that you don't kill us.
I don't know if that's normal people getting spiked though.
I believe they do say it's from regular people, the blessings.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that essentially in order to get those spikes you use the actual soul of the person instead of like
You use a
just
little piece
I'm
of
gonna
presence
sell it.
within their preservation within their soul. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that bruh, technically since preservation is like allomancy derives from them, does that mean that everyone has that potential? It's just like dormant.
Like, what do you mean? Like the potential to use like
Because
preservation's powers?
if they have their souls, which can provide like technically allomantic power because of hemalurgy towards Contra, then why can't they just like
So
eventually
I
expand?
think it sounds like, first of all, they only have technically half of a conjure blessing, because you need two spikes to make a full blessing. So that really grants like nothing, and also it sounds like the power preservation is what's making them sentient. So like I don't know if they could use that small bit of power for anything else.
So
I
what
think
you're
people who
saying is
have
if it was a
allomancy have more preservation within them because of their
so if it
genetics.
was a fresh spike, they would go crazy. like not like literally, but like Wait, so they're like their spikes are old.
Yeah, I think their spikes are about as old as they are. So Lord Ruler makes new ones for each new generation of Khandra. So
I want to see a Kanja, aka or
Mhm.
is it Tensoon. I want to see him get a new like fresh set of spikes, right?
mm.
He's like, wow, I'm so powerful. Boom, just like slamming into shit as a dog.
Mhm.
Oh my god, he's gonna die in the final battle. Everyone's gonna die.
Well, everybody's dead. Yeah.
Wait, no. One of the epigraphs gave me a hint for like what's gonna happen, Loki.
Mm.
I guess we'll get to that. I'm assuming it isn't one of the ones we've talked about yet.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Anyways, to finish off this chapter, Tensoon thinks about how the blessing of potency is similar to using pewter, but unlike allomancy and ferochemy, hemalurgy creates a stable amount of extra power that cannot be flared. However, it doesn't require the use of any extra metals. So what were your thoughts on the differences between hemalurgy and the other two metallic arts? And how like it's kind of more like a constant source of power instead of like being able to be turned on and off.
Wait, what are we at?
I was talking about how Tensoon mentions how hemalurgy creates a stable amount of extra power that cannot be flared, but doesn't require the use of extra metals like allomancy and ferochemy.
I mean, it makes sense that it works like that.
My shit keeps fucking cutting out.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. What? Something about I don't even remember. God damn
I
it.
can repeat it again if you want.
Yes, please. Hopefully it doesn't break up again.
Tensoon thinks about how the blessing of potency is similar to using pewter, but unlike in allomancy and ferochemy, hemalurgy creates a stable amount of extra power that cannot be flared. However, it doesn't require the use of any extra metals. What are your thoughts on the differences between hemalurgy and the other two metallic arts, and how it like is kind of more of a constant source of power instead of like being turned on and off?
Oh, wow. So glad you didn't break up that. I mean, are they all though? Does he flare the power though? Does Orizer? Not Orizer.
No, they don't flare the power. He just says in general he's just stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just stronger, right? Okay.
Yeah. It's just
So,
like
yeah,
it's a constant boost to power when he has the blessing.
How does that even work when like
right?
when
So they don't ever lose
so
it.
Yeah, because they don't lose it. So I'm so confused. Because if you
Well,
if
because
you
it makes me wonder about ATM though.
can't have it depleted, why stop using it at all?
Yeah, you just become savants and everything, right?
Well, I'm not sure if you can be a savant in hemalurgy or even in ferrochemy. They've only talked about savants in allomancy.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. But like, if you have if hemalurgy has allomantic traits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're given allomancy and ferrochemy. They're given it with these spikes. So if you're always on, if it's always on, wouldn't that mean that you would become a savant in whatever that is, like those spikes are?
So I believe what
You're
it's
using it all
explaining
the time.
is that although it uses the power in the same way, it's not technically exactly the same.
Okay, but
We
it
already know it's
says
weakness.
like
So.
he says that he can turn it on and keep it on, but it does like go away. Like you can't use it forever.
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you do ATM then? How are they doing ATM?
Do we know
I
that
don't know about
Inquisitors have
that.
ATM?
What's that? Yeah, they she fought an Inquisitor with ATM in like one of the other
Oh
books.
yeah. Did she?
So how? Yes.
I can't remember. It's been so long.
Yes. That was the whole thing of like she was like making the comment if she didn't have ATM or whatever on at certain times that she couldn't have fought them. I swear to God it was, but maybe I'm thinking of fucking Zane.
Might be
And
the
I don't.
insane. Let me look it up.
Yeah, I thought they were able to use ATM. Yeah, because they kept finding her, remember?
Okay, I think the what was confusing me is I think the difference between spiking and getting a spike from a misting or ferrochemist versus getting a spike from a normal person. So I think I might have gotten confused. And it's just the blessings that are a constant source of power because
Yes.
they're from
Okay.
normal people. I think that's what.
That's why I was like
Yeah, sorry.
so
I think
confused
Tenzu's
because
explanation was
they
confusing me.
sleep forever too.
I
Remember, like that was
apologize.
the other one that I was gonna. The next point I was gonna make is they when things are like when it like depletes them, they have to sleep for a long time or whatever. They have to rest for a while.
Yes, they have to rest to heal.
Yeah. So
Yeah, sorry. I think I got confused by Tenzu's explanation, and then it mixed up some of the information in my head. I apologize.
I'm still confused about like
mhm.
why the conjure specifically can't just have them on at all times, right?
That's what do you mean?
Like, why can't they have it on all the time? Like, it just goes away, but
It doesn't go away. What?
like it depletes in power if you have it on for a long time, right?
If you have it outside of a body, it depletes in power.
No, when Tenzin was like running and shit, he was like, he can't have it on like forever.
Oh, he says he can't run forever, but he gets a boost in power, but he's not like limitless like an Alamancer, who's flaring their power.
Okay, but Alamancers aren't even limitless, but okay.
No.
Well,
Yeah. She is if she continues to consume it.
If she
over and
continues
over
to
and over again.
consume it, she's basically limitless until she stops consuming pewter.
Yeah.
Whereas he's just
Well,
stronger.
technically, we know she wasn't because she was about to like literally pass the fuck out in like what the second
yeah,
book.
Peter Drag, but
So
she was still able to do it though. You know
she was still able to keep going until she stopped
stopped.
burning pewter.
Yeah.
Like you could kill yourself doing it because your body can only handle so much, even though you can keep pushing it.
yeah.
But yeah, the conjures are basically like it doesn't technically turn off. It's just he gets like tired. Yeah, like it's not like a constant flare like Alamancy can be.
It's just basically a boost to his
yeah.
already.
It's basically just like it's basically just he's stronger in general. It's like being a like pro athlete versus a normal non-pro athlete human. One person's just got a lot more strength to them, but like you'd still get tired. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I guess.
So Tenzin then begins to head east as the first contract was explicit that when Ruin returned, the conjurer were to seek out the father. However, since the father was dead, Tenzin goes to look for Vin. That's the end of chapter 39.
They seek out the mother instead.
Yes. So then we get chapter 40's epigraph, which is originally
He didn't have a contingency plan for if he died, so.
Yeah, they didn't apparently. So Tenzin's like, well, I'm going to the next best thing.
Oh my god, wait.
He would die, so yeah.
If the Lord Ruler was the father
Mhm.
and Vin is the mother,
Oh god, here we go.
Oh god.
then Ellen's the stepdad.
Sure.
And the Kandra and the Kolas are their children.
That's kind of
Would
cute.
technically the Inquisitors also be their kids then?
I guess
Yeah.
so.
Marsh went from being uncle figure to now son.
Wait, well, but where does Ruin fall into this category, though?
Grandpa.
Grandpa.
Ruin's grandpa.
Grandpa Ruin. Oh my god, and Grandma Preservation.
Alright, chapter 40's epigraph. Originally we assumed that a Kolos was a combination of two people into one. That was wrong. Kolos are not the melding of... Oh, sorry, this is where they get into it. So, Kolos are not the melding of two people, but 5, as evidenced by the 4 spikes needed to make them. Not 5 bodies, of course, but 5 souls. Each pair of spikes granted what the Kandra would call the blessing of potency. However, each spike also distorts the Kolos body a little more, making it increasingly inhuman. Such is the cost of hemalurgy. So yeah, what do you think about the fact that Kolos are made from 5 human souls?
That made more sense to me because I was like, there's no way it just takes like 2 people.
I mean, like, they were super strong, so.
And I figured, you know what? I figured it had to do with the fucking, with pewter and like the potency shit. Now, I didn't know exactly how it was gonna happen because obviously we weren't gonna figure that out, but I thought they would have just like, because we know they had spikes when they were fighting in Luthadel, the Colossus.
Right? Yeah, the nails, I thought, but yeah.
Yeah, and they're the same thing. To me, they're the same thing.
Yeah, they're the same
thing. But like, I was like, if they're super strong, it's gonna be pewter spikes, and they're just gonna stab like corpses and shit, right? But that's cool, like the skin thing. I wonder if the skins are from like a bunch of people that got like, fucked up, and then the skins are just being passed down generation to generation, and it's like they're wearing their like grandfather's skin.
Pretty much.
God.
Well, it seems like.
So we go back to Vin's point of view, as Ellen addresses their small group regarding theories on how Inquisitors are made. Vin finds herself distracted, thinking about how the Kolos are made of humans. Set then asks how talking about how Inquisitors remember who they are matters to their current siege. Ellen replies that it's because they are at war with more than just yeomen, although Set replies that Ellen can't really believe the talk of doom and gods. Ellen just has Norden mention how the numbers are too exact to be natural, and how something intelligent was behind the soldiers getting sick. Demo then asks how Inquisitors are related to this, and Ellen asks Norden about rumors of how Inquisitors are made. Norden replies that there were rumors that you needed a whole group of Allomancers to make an Inquisitor. Ham states that this is why they were so keen to hunt down Ska Mistings, so that they could use them to make Inquisitors. Ellen says you'd need 8 Mistings, 1 for each of the basic powers, to give an Inquisitor full Mistborn powers. They also mention the body found when they thought Marsh was dead, and Vin replies that Marsh had said the others had been killed there, but not enough was left of them to tell. Ellen then relates this to the Kolos, and Vin explains that the Kolos are made using spikes smaller than Inquisitors by combining 2 people into 1, which is incorrect, but also breaking their mind. The reason Jastes had pillaged a nearby village before coming to Luthadel was so that the Kolos could replenish their numbers. Vin says that this way to take powers for Kolos, Kandra, and Inquisitors is called hemalurgy. Ellen then goes on to say that he believes that, like with the Kandra and Kolos, there is a weakness to the Inquisitors' minds that is allowing a force to take control of them and use them. He goes on to say that everything since killing the Lord Ruler has been a sequence of events, and they need to see the pattern through the chaos, like the number of people who get sick in the mist. That is the only way to defeat it, and this thing that is bigger than any of their smaller problems, like the Kolos and Fadrix City. Ellen then tells Norden that he wants him looking into the Kolos movements, as he no longer thinks they might be random, especially the movements of Kolos not under the control of an Inquisitor. So what are your thoughts on the group slowly figuring out hemalurgy and how Inquisitors, Kandra, and Kolos work?
So I don't have the best outlook on that, and I feel like, hold on. Sorry, I had to sneeze. I feel like it was slightly reaching for stuff too much.
You think they're guessing too much?
I feel like they're guessing too much and yet reaching the right conclusions. And that kind of annoyed me a little, but I mean, like, I guess it's time for them to find out.
Thoughts, Mythic?
About
About the group slowly figuring out how hemalurgy and the creatures that use hemalurgy work.
bound to happen. They have to learn so that they can fight whatever, eventually down the line.
And then I also had a question: what do you think about Ruin being able to use the weakness in the Lord Ruler's creations to control them?
What are we using to control who? Sorry.
The Ruin Ruin's using the weaknesses that the Lord Ruler implemented on his stuff to control him.
Oh, well,
And
yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know if that was like. So I know it wasn't intentional from the Lord Ruler because he's trying to stop Ruin or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know
so
if that was
so we
like
assume.
Ruin influenced, regardless. You know what I mean? Like, what if he had a like fucking part in like implementing those fucking things? Like, oh yeah, they're gonna like be too powerful. You need to do this, just in case. I don't know. I feel like,
Mhm.
but also the
He's been
paranoia of
creating
just being the most
contingency
powerful
plans. So.
person. Yeah.
What'd you say, Mythic?
I said he's making contingency plan. He's been making contingency plans, so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to think he was making contingency plans against them as well.
So the group breaks apart as the meeting ends, and Demo stays behind to talk to Elend. Finn asks what is going on, and Demo explains that those such as himself who are sick longer are being ostracized by the rest of the soldiers. He says that it is hard to lead people who don't trust him. He suggests that reintegration with the rest of the soldiers would be bad if they are to attack soon, but might be good if they're planning to keep the siege for a while. He also calls the people who are sick longer the Mistfallen. Finn thinks that the ball at the Canton of Resource was only in a few days, and if it went well, they may not have to attack Fadrix. Although without resupply from Luthadel, they might have to attack sooner rather than later, if they do need to attack. Ellen says to create a new company made of the Mistfallen now, and that they'll deal with this later. Do you think it was a good or bad idea to keep the Mistfallen separate from the other soldiers?
I think it's good because I don't know why, but my mind keeps wanting to like categorize them as people able to use like metals.
Mm.
So like if somehow let's say they are able to use it and they're all together, imagine the power they could like fucking weld. Or they could just throw themselves at the enemy because they think they're not worth it. Like a massive sacrifice, but
Do you have any thoughts?
It work.
Oh, sorry.
It works out either way. So
I agree with Darkness, really.
So suddenly Han comes in with a man named Conrad, who has word from Luthadel. Ellen asks about the supply barges, but Conrad says that there were riots in the city and that Penrod was asking for troops to help. Ellen slams his fist on a table, angry that Penrod can't seem to keep the city under control while he's gone. Ellen takes a second to calm down and tells Conrad to get some food and that he'll speak to him in more detail later. They then skip forward to that evening, and as Finn approaches Ellen, asking if he spoke to the messenger. Ellen says the messenger told him that Penrod never got his orders to send food and troops. Conrad was one of 4 messengers sent out, but only Conrad made it, and only because he used his horse to distract some Koloss that were following him, escaping while that Koloss ate the horse. Ellen also says that if word of the riots is true, Penrod won't be able to send out any supplies to them. So what are your thoughts on the riots in Luthadel?
Oh, wait, which one's Luthadel again?
The
the
capital.
main city.
That's the main area.
Yeah.
You remember when Marsh was in that small village with the fucking ashram?
Yeah.
And you remember how I said I thought he was going to Luthadel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I instantly felt like, oh, that's him. Especially with the last like leaving remarks he did on that fucking chapter.
True.
What did you think about the riots, Mythic?
I mean, your people are gone. Like your head people are gone. So bound to be somebody that might have come in and just started stirring up the pot, rioting people. Funny. Yeah.
Oh, you know what I wanted to find out is like what would happen if you riot and soothe people to like Duralumin levels like at the same time, like one person.
Imagine their brain just explodes.
That would be such a cool like way to kill someone though. They just start convulsing there.
God.
Cause you can do that with push and pull, like where they're just like there.
That would be horrible.
It would be very terrible, honestly.
My God.
Oh no.
I would have a service soother or a rioter. Like you know how people have service dogs?
Yeah.
Oh.
But like it's like for like mental well-being.
You have all the psychologists and therapists are soothers and rioters.
They're like this is working. You feel this.
I'll just make you feel it,
I'll make your depression go away, don't worry.
Oh God, I wish.
Let me just soothe away your depression.
Oh man, I wish.
I can imagine Midnight as a soother where she just walks up to someone, like taps them on their shoulder and like pats them and they're like, there.
There, you're
They
all
celebrate
good
their
now.
happiness, make them
I'm all good now.
Wow.
Why was I ever depressed?
So Ellen says that based on what is happening, it's obvious that their enemy wants to keep them away from Fadrix. Finn stops Ellen from saying more since Ruin can hear them speak, and Ellen nods in understanding after a moment. Finn wonders if Ruin really was behind the riots in Luthadel, wanting to draw Ellen back to Luthadel and away from Fadrix. Finn thinks that if they fail, they will have nothing to fall back on. She also wonders why she is so certain that the ATM will help. Finn tries again to call upon the mists and feels that she should be able to, but there is some sort of blockage. She whispers, asking why they won't help again. So do you agree that Ruin is trying to keep them away from Fadrix?
No. I think he wants them to go there. Specifically, I think he wants what's under. That is what they're trying to get, right?
Sorry, you cut out for a second for me. What did you say?
Oh, like what's under? Like what they're looking for, the cash?
Oh, yeah, it's under the Canton building.
Yeah. I feel like Rin wants them there.
He wants them there?
Yeah.
Do you think it's like a double bluff trying to get them away from Fadrix?
Mm-hmm. I think he's doing that same shit he did with the Hero of Ages all over again.
Do you have any thoughts, Smithic?
Sorry, dealing with other shit right now. But go on. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. What
Ask
was
the question again.
Yeah, sorry.
The question was, do you agree that Ruin is trying to keep them away from Fadrix?
I mean, I'm sure he's got plans, yeah, for Fadrix in general. So, I mean, as we know later, when he decides to fuck with another person that we've already had name dropped. So, I'm sure it's somewhere part in his plan. I still haven't figured out his plan though. So.
So then we move on to Chapter 41's epigraph. Hemalurgic spikes change people physically depending on which powers are granted, where the spike is placed, and how many spikes someone has. Inquisitors, for instance, are changed drastically from the humans they used to be. Their hearts are in different places from those of humans, and their brains rearranged to accommodate the lengths of metal jabbed through their eyes. Kolas are changed in even more drastic ways. One might think that Khandra are changed most of all. However, one must remember that Khandra are made from mist wraiths, not from humans. The spikes worn by the Khandra cause only a small transformation in their hosts, leaving their bodies mostly like that of a mist wraith, but allowing their minds to begin working. Ironically, while the spikes dehumanize the Kolos, they give a measure of humanity to the Khandra. So what do you think about hemalurgy making humans less human and non-humans more human?
It's the spikes. The amount of spikes, honestly. That's what it seems like.
If it's the amount of spikes, why do you think the Kolos are less human than the Inquisitors when the Inquisitors have more spikes?
I mean, are they though?
I think it has to do with the souls. You're blending in 5 souls to make one Kolos, which is just going to be a jumbled mess, but you're just giving a soul to the Conjurer in order to make them aware. It's like giving them humanity while like giving Kolos too much that it just jumbles it up, like it breaks them.
I agree.
So we go to, back to Say's point of view as he eagerly talks about how the people have created another survivor for themselves when they needed one. Say says it's fascinating how the religion is evolving and how they're able to think that other people can ascend to the level of the survivor due to how Kelsier had been a normal person originally. Breeze and Alrian don't seem very interested, but Sayes continues on, wondering if there will be a succession of survivors and how lasting the religion could be because each survivor can suit the needs of the population at the time. Sayson also says that this new survivor, if he's a real person, could potentially help them. Alrian says that this survivor could also challenge them for leadership of the city. Breezen asks where Kellyon is, as he doesn't want to miss lunch for these executions. Say's eagerness deflates as he remembers why they're out here. Kellyon then arrives wearing blue, as he's now decreed that only he can wear blue, and he's surrounded by all his guards who are still in red. Sayes wants to send his troops to stop this execution, but he knows he can't help the city if he does so. So were you happy to see Sayes getting excited about a religion again?
Yeah, actually. I was.
Felt like he was back to his old self a little bit.
Like him anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Wow.
I just don't. He annoyed the fuck out of me. Like,
he's going through a hard time.
He's back. I like that he's back enjoying religions.
We then switch to Poops.
He's going through a hard time, but like, is everyone else not?
I mean, he did just lose.
Okay, think about all the people that have lost someone close to them.
And they're just as depressed, most of them.
Yeah, but they don't go all emo punk rock type of shit.
You don't know that. We don't see them.
Yes, we do.
Who else has lost their their significant other basically? Finn still has Ellen. Bree still has Alrian.
I mean, she could have been like that, honestly, because she almost lost Ellen.
But she didn't, though.
No, I feel like she would be more end it all now type of shit. So that would be a lot less annoying.
Hamsel has his
Didn't
wife.
Spook also lose someone like super close to him?
He lost his uncle, but not his lover.
But that was essentially like his family, bro. Like his
I mean,
like
Spook
after
did.
get
There's a
Spook
pretty
has been
big
going
difference.
through things.
Yeah, he really has.
He went all, I'm useless,
I
I
mean,
mean
everybody goes
nothing,
through
I
grief
ran
differently.
away when I shouldn't
Yeah,
have.
Everybody goes through grief.
yeah, but he
differently.
didn't literally like go off like everything.
What do you? I mean, he kind of did though. I mean,
He's doing good. He's doing good, bro.
He basically, like,
Okay.
the only reason he became a savant is because he was trying to punish himself for leaving.
Yeah.
He wanted to make himself feel pain. If that's not fucking emo as hell, I don't know what is.
Pain without love.
I thought it was because he wanted to prove himself.
No, he says that he had started.
Oh, it says he's yeah.
He says he
he
started
says it.
burning tin because he wanted to like feel like the pain. That
He wanted
was
to feel
feeling.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This whole
Hey,
fucking
emo.
world needs like to just go away.
It's
Like,
called grief, bro. Everybody.
maybe
deals
I don't
with grief
channel it like
differently.
other people, but
No, you really don't.
honestly, it happens a lot. You might as well just get over it.
You're not wrong. Death does happen a lot.
So we switch to Spook's point of view as Kelsier tells him that he's going to have to kill all the guards. He had bribed some people to show him the location of the executions in advance, so he was able to find a spot before everyone showed up. Some of the people in the group that Kellyanne was to execute had noble parents like France's sister, but some were only spouses to people with noble parentage, and one of them had been spoken out about Kellyanne, and his only connection to nobility was selling to the nobles. He's just going after anyone who's like basically spoken to a noble before at this point.
He's a good leader. Okay,
I'm
Don't
sure.
judge him.
Spook says to Kelsier that he doesn't think he can do it, thinking that he isn't a Mistborn, even though he now has Pewter. Kelsier says that Spook can do it and that he needs to save those people. Spook says he isn't Kelsier, but Kelsier says not yet. Do you think Kelsier is implying that Spook is going to become a second survivor, or that he's going to become a Mistborn, or both?
Mistborn.
Survivor. Straight up, he's already on the path, and people are already considering him that. So you know.
Yeah. Spook looks down to see Beldre, thinking that she might seem upset as she watches the prisoners, although it may also just be what he wants to see. He sees the group of prisoners being prodded into the building, and Spook thinks that he has to save them. Spook then goes down from his perch and around a corner and into a building where he finds a hatch into a wine cellar. He thinks that the nobility were just as paranoid as thieving crews and that they would have a bolt hole for emergency exits. As Spook makes his way through an open secret passage, he sees a group of soldiers. He can hear the soldiers talking about moving quickly before the fire gets there, and a woman shouting for them to at least take the child. Above, Kellyanne was making a show of killing anyone with noble blood, but he needed allomancers, so he would secretly take them out before the building burned. So were you expecting Kellyanne to be smuggling allomancers out of burning buildings?
Yes, as you heard me say.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't you say you didn't know what was happening?
Yeah.
Were you expecting this, Mythic?
No, honestly, I was expecting something completely different, but
So
but it's nice to know that though.
So Spook charges the soldiers, hearing the child crying, and Kelsier shouting at him to kill them. In italics.
Kill them.
He's like, kill
Kill
them! Spook whips out his dueling cane and knocks down one of the soldiers. The other soldiers
In
cry
italics, right?
That's
out. It was
yeah.
spoken, but in italics as well. It was supposed to be like emphasized, but it was in
Oh.
quotations.
Okay.
The other soldiers cry out and try to draw their swords, but it's awkward in the confined tunnel, and Spook brought daggers. Spook cuts down two of the soldiers and sees four men with a ska man. The soldiers go backwards into the basement of the burning building, fearful of Spook. Spook pulls out his second dueling cane as he takes down the slowest of the four soldiers. Kelsier tells him that the soldiers can't escape, otherwise Kellyanne will know that the people were rescued. The three soldiers pull out their swords, and Spook attacks one of them with both dueling canes, avoiding the man's sword. He brings down one of his dueling canes on the man's sword arm before bringing the other down on the man's skull. Another soldier swings at Spook, and Spook blocks the attack with the two canes, one of them breaking. Spook spins and elbows the man in the stomach before punching him in the head. Spook excitedly thinks that maybe he can do this, until he spins around and sees one of the soldiers holding one of Spook's daggers to a young girl's neck. Spook shouts for the others to leave and tells them that men will be waiting to help them get out of the city. He also tells the last fleeing man to bar the door behind him. What do you think of Spook's fight against the guards?
Spook's a badass.
It was cool, yeah.
Man only has 2 powers and he's still a badass.
I was waiting for him to die though.
You're always waiting for Spook to die.
Honestly, but I don't want it this time. Which, is worse, because that's when it happens.
So the soldier shouts that he'll kill the girl, and Spook replies that if he does that, he'll also die. As the bar thumps closed behind them, the soldier drops the girl and rushes to the door. Spook takes his dueling cane and hits the man's knees. He then tries to break down the door, but Kelsier tells him that the nobleman who lived here would have made sure it held against Allomancers. Spook goes and picks up the girl and thinks that his pewter will have to be enough to get him through the situation. We then switch back to Say's point of view, as he, Breeze, and Alrian watch the building burn. Breeze says that Kelsier was wrong about killing the nobility, stopping things like this from happening. Sayes finds himself getting angry until Breeze tells Alrian to stop rioting, and Sayes sees that Alrian is crying while rioting the crowd. Alrian says she can make the crowd rip Kellyan apart, but Breeze says that his second-in-command will just take control.
Yep, 100%.
Suddenly, Sayes notices a window shaking, and he points it out. The window eventually is thrown open, and a dark figure in a cloak bursts out carrying a child, landing on a nearby roof. Kellyan spins to look, and Sayes watches as the hood falls off the figure, and Sayes recognizes Spook. Breeze curses and tells Alrian that they're going to need her to riot the crowd after all. Breeze soothes the crowd's emotions so that Alrian is able to riot their anger easier. The crowd explodes with motion as people cry out in the name of the survivor and rush the guards. Do you think Kellyan will have caught that Breeze and Alrian are technically helping Spook escape?
Yes. I think this man's going to know a lot more than he's supposed to.
Do you think Darkness?
Yeah, it would make sense. I think I'm going to save this question for the end. Because it's completely unrelated to what's happening right now.
Okay. So Spook runs off during the distraction, seeming to move far too quickly. He goes down an alleyway carrying the girl he rescued. Breeze eventually smothers the crowd's will to rebel to keep them from getting cut down by the soldiers. The crowd disperses, but the soldiers stick close to Kellyan as he calls for retreat. So what do you think is going to happen now that Kellyan has seen Spook helping the Ska escape from the executions?
What do you think? What?
What do you think is going to happen now that Kellyan knows that Spook is helping people escape the executions?
Easy. Mass murder. No, well, he's obviously going to try and, get to Spook.
Do you have any thoughts, Mythic?
It's the same thing that Darkness said. He's going to try to kill Spook, so. Well, what else would you do to an opponent of yours?
So chapter 42's epigraph. I think that the Koloss were more intelligent than we wanted to give them credit for being. For instance, originally, they used only spikes the Lord Ruler gave them to make new members. He would provide the metal and the unfortunate Ska captives, and the Koloss would create new recruits. At the Lord Ruler's death, then, the Koloss should quickly have died out. This was how he had designed them. If they got free from his control, he expected them to kill themselves off and end their own rampage. However, they somehow made the deduction that spikes in the bodies of fallen Koloss could be harvested, then reused. They no longer required a fresh supply of spikes. I often wondered what effect the constant reuse of spikes had on their population. A spike can only hold so much of a hemalurgic charge, so they could not create spikes that granted infinite strength, no matter how many people those spikes killed and drew power from. However, did the repeated reuse of spikes perhaps bring more humanity to the Koloss they made? So what do you think about how the Koloss figured out how to reuse the spikes?
I thought it was cool
So I was
because
saying, I didn't think they were stupid.
I thought it was cool though because apparently it's bringing their humanity back and shit. So
That's why they think they're human.
they technically are.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of humans.
They were human.
They're still human. What are you talking about?
I don't know about that.
I think they're honestly. I still think they're human, but
If
they're
you
just
jam 4 fucking humans together, you're still human. It'd be different if you took here I put a lion and a person and a tiger
a horse
and a bear,
head.
and 4, I put them all together. That's not human anymore. But put 4
the
humans together.
The epigraph person says that the Inquisitors aren't even human anymore, and they're more human than the Koloss.
I don't think so. I don't think Inquisitors are human at all. They're zombies.
Also, what do you think about the spikes having a limited amount of reuse?
Cool. Honestly, gives
Wonder why though.
Sure, that answer will not get answered in this.
Midnight.
So
So it doesn't get answered. Great.
I don't.
Okay.
She doesn't know.
I'm not sure if it gets answered in this book or not.
Oh, so she does know. She doesn't want to tell us. Oh man.
I think I have an explanation, but I'm not 100% sure if it's like a theory or like spelled out.
It's just a theory.
A book theory.
That's suspicious.
That's weird.
So we move to Marsh's point of view as he enters Luthadel. An Inquisitor in the capital is more likely to be reported than in the other towns he had been in, so he moves at night with a hood cloak. The watching part of Marsh worries about what Ruin will do to the people of Luthadel. On his way to Luthadel, he is stopped by 4 towns and burned down the food stores there. He knew that other Inquisitors were looking for the thing that Preservation had taken from Ruin, but they had yet to find it. Marsh makes his way to keep...
My body! Bring me my body!
Marsh makes his way to Keep Venture, where Elend had set up his government, and jumps up to a second-floor balcony, making his way towards Penrod's rooms. He thinks that spiking someone with a hemalurgic spike is difficult, but like with allomancy and feruchemy, only a small amount of metal could be used. Inquisitor spikes were large to be intimidating. It also depended how long you kept the spike out of a human body after using it to kill someone. Marsh thinks that for his purpose, he doesn't care about giving Penrod powers, just spiking him. Apparently there were around 200 to 300 bind points on a human's body, and although he didn't know them, Ruin would guide his hand. So what do you think about Ruin wanting to spike Penrod?
Said practically.
Well, as soon as they said he was in Luthadel, and they mentioned the spike in general, I figured they were gonna spike him. And I mean, why else would Ruin want someone spiked if it's not to control them?
Powers, yeah. If it's not to give them powers, then it's definitely to monitor and control them.
Yeah, it's definitely not to give them powers, especially since it's been bleeding out the fucking powers for days.
Yeah, so. He stopped by a few towns on the way over.
Exactly.
He was shopping.
Doing some grocery shopping.
Yep, exactly.
So Marsh briefly thinks back to when he had been made into an Inquisitor, taken by surprise and pushed to the floor of where he'd been waiting for Kelsier. A woman had been thrown on top of him and a spike pounded through her heart and into Marsh's eye. The pain had been so much he barely remembered much, besides that this had been done with several Allomancers, and then the Inquisitors had danced around, chopping up the bodies with axes as they delighted in having a new Inquisitor. Marsh thinks that not only will he have to spike Penrod, but Penrod will have to leave the spike in him long enough to be influenced by Ruin. Marsh isn't sure how someone could forget about 5 inches of metal inside of them. Apparently Ruin had tried to spike Elend several times, but had failed on all of them.
Yep.
It wasn't uncommon for Ruin to fail to spike someone, but the few that it worked on were worth the effort. So what do you think about Ruin having tried to spike Elend multiple times?
Well, we knew that because of the fucking One Inquisitor.
Yeah, we knew that he tried to attack him with a spike one time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna get him! Miss.
Do you think Ruin will eventually be able to get a spike into Elend?
Yeah, probably. Oh my god, and then Vin's gonna have to kill him.
I mean, couldn't she just pull the spike out? Depends where they spike him.
That would kill him.
Well, it depends where they spike him. If they spike him in the heart, yeah, that might be fatal.
I don't think it matters. I think it would still kill him.
Yeah.
Now that we're back on the spikes route, though.
Okay, yeah, you had your question from earlier.
So, Mythic did have a little moment of ATM happening, and it is making me a little confused because in order for an Inquisitor, okay, so how does this work? So, do you have to spike through, let's say if it's a misting, in order for the Inquisitor to get pewter, you would have to kill somebody who has pewter as an elementic power already?
Yes.
Right? So in order for them to be able to use ATM, they would have to either kill a misting. I mean
Mistborn.
what's it called? Mistborn, there you go.
Or a misting with ATM.
But we don't know if they even know if that exists, so
I feel like they do. I feel like they know and that it does exist, because
maybe
I feel like what happens here, the idea I have, right, is because especially since now we know that, it's been very much confirmed that any piece of metal, amount of metal, could be put into people, right, and make them a whatever, use hemalurgy on them.
Mm-hmm.
What if way back when, in the very first book, when the Inquisitors were walking around the party all the time, they were slightly just tapping people with fucking rods,
so I think it was
tiny
obligators that were at parties, not Inquisitors.
I think we've been over this.
Either way, whatever. Same people, in my opinion. Same
Not really,
group.
but okay.
Same group.
You see, I would have that difficulty of differentiating between Inquisitors and Obligators, but then I realized they're fucking enemies essentially. So
are they?
Yeah,
yeah.
Remember, the Obligators were technically in charge, and the Inquisitors.
Yeah, but they're not.
They're
still on the same side. They're just
they're
on the same side, but they could still be enemies.
They had a
okay,
rivalry. They didn't like each other. They both wanted control.
But they literally started cheering when they could kill that one person.
stab this motherfucker, stab some people to see if they're ATM mistings,
They're
Like,
they're
they-
different
he-
branches of the government, basically.
They
there's
literally
some-
started squirming and squealing, trying to fucking kill that dude over there. It was Vince's dad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they were very excited to kill him.
Kill him! God,
Don't say it like that.
I miss that guy. I miss the other guy, the one, the crazy one.
What was his name? Carr or something like that?
Carl?
Not
Carl?
Carr.
Carl! That kills people, Carl! But yeah, no. I'm thinking that what if they walked around and they were like, basically like injecting small metal into people to see who was an ATM misting? Like, because I mean, you wouldn't know unless you swallowed ATM, and who does that? It's
But the thing is,
expensive.
you need a snap in order to use it. Well, technically, it would work out because nobles would
What if you don't?
try and force them to snap, right?
But what if you don't though? What if you don't have to snap to be like labeled that? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if they could inject, like, put that metal in or whatever, like kind of like a dowsing rod? I don't know if you know what that means, but
Yeah.
where they would put the metal in, and it would be like, this is an this is they have tin, they have ATM,
Do
they
you
have
think they
whatever.
could like detect like latent abilities even if they haven't snapped?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think all the nobles would have snapped. It's just if
Yeah,
they know
probably.
they've snapped or not because they went through the whole beating thing.
Yeah, and then they wouldn't know if they had ATM, if they were ATM missings, because then who eats ATM?
Yeah, you
You
just
know?
think you survived and that you're
Yeah,
nothing.
you're like, oh, I survived this,
I survived, but I have no powers. This sucks.
Yeah,
What was the point?
They just beat me for no reason. But yeah, no, but it's an idea I had because they used to go around all the time and just be that silent person. I swore they said Inquisitors, but maybe the Obligators. I don't know.
That's obligators for sure.
I'm pretty sure it was Obligators. Because there were so few Inquisitors.
But like, I get confused with inquisitors and obligators a lot.
Yeah.
So I think in my head there's like one or two inquisitors in the fucking parties. That would be scary though, like going to a fucking ball and there's just like
Yeah,
spy
I don't think
guys
the
over
nobles
there.
liked being around the Inquisitors. Ruin takes over Marsh as he pushes past the guards and into Penrod's bedchambers. Ruin tells him to fight Penrod, make it convincing, but make Penrod feel like he's holding Marsh off. Marsh is able to do this, although it's difficult, and eventually the guards join the fight, which allows Marsh to more easily pretend to be losing. Ruin then tells Marsh to act frightened, spike Penrod, and then leap out the window. We time skip a bit forward, and Marsh is hanging unseen outside the window. He listens as a surgeon tells Penrod that removing the metal spike is causing the bleeding to increase dramatically. The surgeon thinks that the spike just barely missed Penrod's heart, since he is still conscious, but Marsh knows that it pierced the man's heart. Penrod says he feels good, so the surgeon suggests leaving the metal for now. Marsh thinks that they'll want to remove the spike again later, but it would again threaten Penrod's life, so they would have to leave it. Ruin would then be able to nudge Penrod in certain directions, and he'd be Ruin's just like any Inquisitor. So do you think they'll ever be able to remove Penrod's spike, or is he just going to be like...
No, he's done.
He's fucked?
I think he's dead.
Yeah.
I think he's dead.
If they're gonna remove it if he ends up joining the fight somehow, but not because they want to save him.
I think they'll remove it because they want to save him, but...
I mean, do they really care about Penrod?
That's what I'm saying. Like, Penrod's literally like, throw him away, bro.
So yeah, that was the end of chapter 42. And then we get our final chapter, chapter 43.
My favorite chapter.
Chapter 43's epigraph, which is, "For all that it disgusts me, I cannot help but be impressed by hemalurgy as an art. In allomancy and feruchemy, skill and subtlety comes through the application of one's powers. The best allomancer might not be the most powerful, but instead the one who can best manipulate the pushes and pulls of metals. The best feruchemist is the one who is most capable of sorting the information in his copper mines, or best able to manipulate his weight with iron. The art that is unique to hemalurgy, however, is the knowledge of where to place the spikes." Do you guys have any thoughts on that epigraph?
Cool.
Hemalurgic horses.
Oh.
Just think about it.
I mean, think about it, yeah.
We go back to Vin's point of view, as she and Ellen drop onto a rooftop. Vin
Especially
tells...
since we're going to be in cowboy era.
Oh my god!
Oh god!
Fuck yeah.
No fucking way!
Give me some hemalurgic fucking horses now. Damn.
Vin tells Ellen that Yeoman's Mistborn is following them about 3 houses back. She says that he knows they've spotted him since they've stopped, but that he won't attack since the two of them are together. She wonders briefly if it's Yeoman that is following them, as she originally is suspicious of everyone being a Mistborn, even if she's more often wrong than right. Vin then says she should
Better
try
option, honestly. I said, yeah, just assume the worst. It's a better option, honestly.
All I heard was habadabba.
Oh, sorry, I'm eating food. I'm very hungry.
Vin then says they should.
I just chowed down on that fucking food real quick.
That's fine.
Second one's coming up.
Vin then says they should continue to the party. As they move, she thinks back to what Ellen had told her previously, that he'd distract Yeoman so that she can go check out the storage cache. She thinks that the party is the best chance to do this since Yeoman's guards and Mistborn will be focused on Yeoman. They then land in the courtyard, startling some guards and some people in carriages. Do you think we're going to get a confrontation at some point between Vin and the Mistborn?
Yes, 100%.
It's kind of building up to that, so.
100%. It's just the same thing as when it was Zane that was out there, you know.
Or the ghost. The Miss Spirit.
Miss Spirit. Before they go inside, Vin has Ellen promise that once she gets spotted that he'll leave. Ellen tries to protest, but Vin replies. Ellen tries to protest, but Vin replies that she can't protect both of them and that she'll meet him back at the camp. They then head into the party.
I said, sure she will.
They then head back into the party, the guards making no move to stop them. They follow the other guests.
Okay, real quick. At this point, when she started saying this to Ellen, all I could think of in my mind was the fact that, like, this man is smart enough to have killed half of your Koloth's army, and you're going to walk in here and think that you're somehow better? Like, you have some literal, like, you have a big-ass head. Your ego is insane. Like, this man probably has so many contingency plans for you. But go on.
So they follow the other guests through the building until they get to just outside a large meeting hall and wait to be announced. Vin notices that the main ballroom was a bit too small for the nobility to have their normal smaller groups, and Ellen points out that there seem to be other rooms where people are going in and out of down the hallway. Vin points out an exit, and Ellen mentions that he'll stay close to it just in case. They are then announced and head inside. Vin asks Ellen for a dance before they split up, but he says he's a bit too nervous, so Vin just gives him a kiss and tells him to give her an hour before starting his distraction. Ellen moves off to a group of men she doesn't recognize, and Vin begins to move through the party, avoiding the women she has spoken to at the last party. Do you think Vin should have tried to socialize with the same women again for a bit, or do you think it was smart to kind of move on from them?
Well, knowing who's with her, like following her and shit,
Yeah.
it was definitely smart.
So Vin glances around for any guards keeping an eye on her, but she doesn't notice anything, so she begins to burn bronze to check for elements.
Bras? Oh my god, she's burning bras now.
No.
Imagine she just takes her shit off right there.
Yeah, pretty the titties. Holy damn.
God.
She's like, y'all wanted a distraction, here you go.
Oh my gosh. She jumps a little when she finds two sources of allomancy coming from the two women next to her. One of the women is burning copper, and the other one is burning tin. She continues to move.
Smoker in the tin eye.
She continues to move through the crowd and notices the two women keeping within tin-enhanced hearing range. Vin then notices Slow Swift sitting and smoking a pipe. She goes up to him and says she didn't think he came to these things. Slow Swift replies that he only comes when his king holds one. Vin then leaves, seeing Slow Swift frown as he obviously expected more of a conversation. Vin moves quickly, making her tails have to awkwardly leave their conversations. She then gives them time to get into new conversations before she goes back towards Slow Swift suddenly, making it difficult for the women to follow her. Vin tells Slow Swift to send two men to meet her somewhere. He suggests a nearby patio, and then have them wait for her to approach them. She also asks that he send someone to tell Ellen that she needs an extra half hour. Vin then makes her way off to the patio. Once outside, she leans against the metal railing and waits. The two women show up soon after, chatting to each other about how stuffy the other room was as they sit at a table a ways away. The two men come out after and sit at a table as well. So what did you originally think Vin wanted these men for?
He wanted to make them, like the girls or whatever, go to them.
Self-pleasure. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Whoa.
It's a joke. Anyway, I thought it was gonna be like a distraction for them.
Serene speaks in her head, telling her she shouldn't rely on Ellen for a distraction and that he'll fail. However, Vin trusts Ellen to succeed. After 10 minutes, a man comes to talk to the women, and then 20 minutes...
I just remembered something. I'm sorry. I remembered, you know when Vin was talking to Ellen and discussing the plan and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
There was trust with a capital T.
Was there?
Oh.
Yeah. And I was wondering, like, is that a thing now? Like...
She asked him to trust her, and the trusting her was the one thing he could do, but both of those trusts are at the start of a sentence, which is why they're capitalized.
Is it?
Yeah. Vin smiled, period. Quotation mark, trust me, period. Quotation mark. And then he paused, then nodded, period. Trusting her was one thing he could obviously do, something he'd always done.
Maybe I read it wrong. Because I thought it had, like, words beforehand.
I mean, it has words beforehand, it just has a period.
No,
between
like,
it and the word
in the
trust.
same sentence.
Maybe you misread one of the periods as a comma.
Maybe. Maybe I'm tripping.
I don't see a capital
Maybe
T,
Tarkin
and
just can't read.
based on what I know, it wouldn't make sense for trust to be capitalized.
That's why I was like, why the fuck is it like...
I think you were just tired, because I know you read these at like the middle of the night.
Yep.
It was 3:30, okay?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
He does it earlier than I do because I read it literally like a couple hours before this, or listened to it like a couple hours before this.
What
That's
chapter was
normal
that?
time to be awake, though. This is the final chapter, chapter 43.
No, the one where she's talking about that.
Chapter 43.
Yeah.
The beginning
Is
of this
it?
chapter. Yeah.
Yes, the last chapter.
How fucking long was this chapter?
10 pages.
You know, I almost had a panic attack because, like, I thought, so I was reading one of the chapters and it tells me how long it's gonna take to read the chapter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And originally it was like 1 minute left or whatever, and I like got out of the app, went back in, and it said 43 fucking minutes, and I was like,
Like,
I'm
what
not
happened?
fucking sleeping tonight.
I mean, I read these on like 1.5 speed, or listen to these on 1.5 speed. So it tells me like 30 minutes for some of these chapters.
But yeah, so where was I? Oh yeah, so a man comes up to speak to the women at the table, and then again after about 20 minutes, someone goes out to see the women again. And then only a few minutes after, a man comes to speak to people at a table that was not either the two women or the two men waiting for her, and saying they have to come inside and see something. Those guests then head back inside, and Vin smiles, knowing that this is Ellen's distraction. She then pushes against the metal railing and flies at the women, who had grown bored and distracted by Vin doing nothing for so long. She uses a duralumin-fueled brass push against the women to completely flatten their emotions. The women gasp, the one that had stood falling to the ground. Vin knocks one of the women out by hitting her head to the table and then chokes the other woman until she falls unconscious.
That was the greatest idea ever.
Vin then waves over Slow Swift's two men and tells them to stash the women in the bush and stay at their table, telling anyone who comes looking for them they followed her back to the party. They try to say something, but Vin tells them to just do as she says, as they can't have them waking up and reporting what happened. She then removes her dress, revealing dark clothing underneath, and hands the dress to the men to also hide. What do you think of how Vin got rid of the Alamancers following her?
Pretty fucking smart, honestly. The duralumin brass part thing was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So that they can't scream out because they're too, like, numbed.
Yep, I was like, that's pretty good. That's a great way to use duralumin.
I want to do the opposite and make them just like scream in panic.
Of course you do. That would have been a great distraction, though.
Yeah.
We then switch to Ellen's point of view as he challenges Yeoman to a duel. Yeoman asks why he would agree to that, and Ellen replies because Yeoman is a man of honor. However, Yeoman says Ellen is not, as Ellen is an Alamancer and he is not.
Mistborn. I thought you said Mistborn.
Yeah.
Did you say Alamancer? I thought you said
I think it's Alamancer and then says Mistborn afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Ellen suggests sending a Mistborn against him instead, but Yeoman replies that he doesn't have one. Ellen asks if he would really let his people die over pride.
I said, that's bullshit. You don't have a Mistborn.
Yeah, even Ellen's like, yeah, sure, dude. Sure you don't.
I think he was thinking about the one that was following them.
Yeah, that's what he's thinking of. He's like, this is obviously Yeoman's Mistborn that's been following us.
Yep,
I don't think that's not.
not.
I don't think that's.
I don't think it is either. But just in general, I was speaking as Ellen. Bullshit.
So you don't think that Mistborn's his darkness? You think it's
Nah.
What do you think that Mistborn's working for then?
I think it's something completely different.
It's the Mistspirit who has elementic powers now.
Oh god.
They said she said she saw the person though. It wasn't the Mistspirit.
It was. He has a body now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got a body. Yep, totally.
Anyway, so Ellen asks if he would really let his people die over pride, but Yeoman replies that it's pride to march an army against a city. Ellen says that that's because he controls the Koloss, he has the right to rule, and Yeoman frowns, noticing that Ellen's argument keeps changing. He continues to distract Yeoman, thinking that he hopes Vin can end the fight before it begins. What did you think of Ellen's distraction?
It was funny. I was just imagining like him pulling off his glove and throwing it at him and going, "I challenge you to a duel."
For some reason, I thought he was gonna set. I thought he was gonna set fireworks. Just in my head, like, you know. And then it's gonna be like one of those like romantic fireworks shows for Vin.
And that was the end of that chapter. I've got a couple overview questions.
I'm so sad that you guys don't get that we don't get to know the next one because the next epigraph is so good.
Yeah, you always got to start the next epigraph before.
I could just read it after.
It's so good.
We're gonna talk about it next week.
I know. I had to wait a whole week to talk about this epigraph. And honestly, I forget about these epigraphs because it's a week.
You should reread it.
You're right. I should go back a chapter and be like, all right, let's listen to this chapter again.
So my overview questions, first of all, is what do you think Vin will find in the storage cache?
Wait, what
Story.
epigraph?
What the next one? 44 epigraph?
We get that epigraph.
Next week.
Yeah.
No, we get that epigraph. There's no epigraph for 44.
What are you talking about?
That epigraph is before the 44 one.
What are you talking about?
Right?
No.
I mean,
Really? Because for me it says it's the same chapter.
that's what I'm saying. It tells
it's
me
technically supposed to be part of chapter 44.
But it says it's the same chapter for me.
Well,
yeah, it says
not.
it's chapter 43. It's the end of chapter 43 always for me. You know.
This one literally says it's the same chapter for me. That's why I'm like, what?
That's crazy.
Well, it's not.
Because
It's next week.
on that page it says 1 minute left, and then on the next one this is 8 minutes, so it starts a new chapter.
It's supposed to be the start of the chapter.
Well, I don't even remember it, so it doesn't even matter.
Okay. Anyways,
Dude,
what do you
love
think
this.
Ben's gonna find in the storage cache?
Storage.
Just food.
No shit.
Yeah, I answered.
A new lover. She needs a replacement one. Just in case.
She's gonna find the body of Rashek.
It's gonna
Oh,
be Lord
shit.
Ruler. Yeah, imagine. Oh my god, her new lover.
Oh god.
It's gonna
that
be
is the
Papa and
father-
Mama.
That is the father of her children. So.
Oh god.
Lucky, I don't mind that pairing, even though he's like 1,000 years old.
Do you have any serious things about what you think like the specialty of this storage cache is gonna be?
No.
Metals.
And it's gonna be a bunch
Everything
of
but
metal here.
fucking ATM. Yeah, everything but ATM.
I don't think it's just gonna be ATM though.
I don't think it's gonna be ATM at all.
I think it's gonna be metals in general.
Mm.
Yeah, all the other types of metals maybe.
I think they might have said that one of the other storage caches had like the basic 8 metals, a bunch of them.
So this one's gonna have the special metals.
Mm.
Yeah, all 8 of the other metals, you know, except ATM. So 7.
Imagine a shit ton of duralumin. Oof.
Oh gosh.
Oh, damn. We are strong forever.
My next question is, what do you think Ruin is going to have Penrod do now that he's got Penrod spiked?
He's gonna become a stripper.
Okay.
Well, he's gonna obviously control him enough to ruin like Luthadel society or whatever.
He's gonna fuck up Luthadel completely.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. And it makes sense. Take out the leader of the whole place, you know, or at least high up there.
And then my final question is, do you think we're gonna see Tensoon and Vin meeting up soon, since Tensoon is now free of the homeland?
And then him take them back to the trust, and they
Don't have
do
high
something,
hopes.
whatever the fuck they're doing at the trust.
They're trusting.
Yeah, they're gonna trust them.
Right. But yeah, that was it for my questions. Did you guys have any other theories or thoughts you wanted to bring up?
I was just thinking right now, just stupid stuff I usually think. Imagine you're just like like staking people like to a cross, and that's how you find out about hemalurgy.
Oh gosh.
I mean, god damn, I really wanna. Oh, Darkness, you need to go read the next epigraph.
I read it, I just don't remember it.
Okay, so then you would have the answers to at least one of the things that we've been talking about here. Oh, I didn't know if it came up in that last epigraph. That's why I didn't want to say it. Remember how you were talking about there being possibly multiple different ones? Like, each one has a different amount of spikes, and that's where I got that whole theory. The more spikes making different creatures.
Oh yeah, I'm just like reading over it. Yeah, I see what you mean.
I was reading all the ones I've typed out, and I was like, oh shit, this is the
Where the
last
fuck does
epigraph.
it say that?
Can I say it or not?
We should go over it next time.
That's what I'm saying. I'll tell you after Darkness, because I'll end up forgetting next week. So
You'll remember once I read it back out to you.
I think that epigraph is so big that my brain doesn't want to read it. 'Cause I've been trying to fucking read it for the past 5 minutes.
It's huge. You just have to read the last
No, it's fine.
sentence.
We'll just, deal
Anyways,
with it later.
so next week we will be reading chapters 44 through 49.
Mhm.
And we're also going to be starting part 4, starting on chapter 45.
Nice.
What's it called?
Part 4 is called Beautiful Destroyer.
Oh my god, it's me.
It's not Beautiful Darkness, it's Beautiful Destroyer.
Oh my god, it's you.
Anyways, so those are going to be the chapters we'll be reading next week. Thank you to everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.